Inquiring Together, Serving Police Officers and Ethnic Minority Communities was a research project funded by the Scottish Institute for Policing Research, Police Scotland and the Scottish Police Authority to support the police to improve engagement with seldom heard communities. This project, based in Dundee, aimed to find out from Scotland's minority ethnic communities their thoughts on communication, safety and trust in policing. The process involved training serving police officers and community workers to carry out narrative inquiry focus groups with ethnic minority community groups.
They can help sometimes. You can come across a nice person, but usually as a organization, it's more to punish and give fines than actually help. So if you have anything to do with the police, is either something very bad and serious happened to you, or you are in trouble. So people really don't want to talk to the police if they don't have to.
Because people just feel the same when they see the police. They don't feel safe as they feel terrified because of their experience in Syria. So they don't have that much knowledge.
If you think about refugees and asylum seekers, I would say in particular, many of them has gone through like a terrible, if not torture, I would say a terrible journeys to be here. So are police really trained to support that specific groups in particular?
First of all, there's that worry from people from an asylum seeker or even refugee background that there could be the fear of recrimination due to immigration status from the authorities, and a worry that even if they choose to report or talk about something anonymously, that oath that's been agreed could still be breached. There's a concern, I think, amongst many minority ethnic communities that things haven't moved forward too much, and issues within the force aren't being addressed with regards to racism. And I think in Scotland alone, we see that only 1% of the force is made up of people from BME communities, and that lack of diversity in this respect is perhaps the most significant barrier for communities choosing not to engage with the police services.
I think people don't know that much about police to know if they are safe or not.
Our community is scared of police because of the experiences, the bad experience they had. So Police Scotland should know when these people are scared, the policies, they need to aware of that. They're scared because of, their bad experience, not just, afraid of the police or something, or they have done or bad or crime or something like that.
The Home Office was brought up every 10, 15 minutes or so because there was a belief and understanding that the Police Scotland had some sort of partnership or affiliation with the Home Office, which caused a lot of the members of the community to have already biased opinion on, I don't want to have any interaction with the police because they will essentially tell the Home Office, which may have an impact on their status or the application process then.
The project was with young people who are asylum seekers who work with Scottish Refugee Council. So what surprised me was how much knowledge of the police and service we provide they have, but also the fact that they are so reluctant to phone the police if they were requiring our service surprised me, and I've learned that because I thought that if someone is in danger, first thing they'll be phoning the police, dialing 999, but they were contacting their social worker, who in turn was contacting us.
Yeah, so what I noted was the lack of understanding of the Scottish system, the roles of the police officers, the roles of the witnesses in any cases, the roles of the courts. The people I was speaking with were all supportive of the police, but when it comes to the fact that they would be witness and they might appear at court, they were really apprehensive, and that puts them off of engaging with the police and reporting crime.
I think there's a lot of expectation of what the police can and can't do. The community sometimes aren't aware of the limitations by legislation that we have in place that stops doing from certain things, and they think it's a lot like the movies and TV shows where you can track a phone across the country for any reason. There's a lot of legislation in place that sort of restricts that for obvious reasons, and that's something that I think I was surprised that they didn't realise and didn't grasp.
But the thing that really amazed me mostly was the simple fact that people didn't seem to know how to actually contact the police, which seems totally ingrained in our own society from a really early age. You know how to do that, and you almost take it for granted that as part of the kind of migration process, there would almost be like a pack that would tell you, here's how you contact the police in this country. But and whether that's in or not, the fact is it wasn't getting through. So just little simple things like that really blew my mind, to be honest.
Yeah, well, one of the things I kind of took away from it was that when the Police Scotland became one unified service for the whole of the country, a lot of the sort of local level links between the community and what was then Tayside Police had subsequently been lost, and that was quite evident with the group we were speaking with, that they wanted that sort of connection with the police and had enjoyed that previously, and were looking to try and connect on that level, because it was something that they felt quite benefited them historically.
I think one of the topics that were brought up at our focus group was that more police should attend more community-based groups within these communities, and we were discussing that local community police officers like myself, we attend community council meetings and we attend a lot of social clubs as well, but there's probably a lack of understanding of what other community groups are out there, where it may be a high percentage of members from the BAME community go to. And I think it's probably something that we should be doing a bit better, especially at a local community level, identifying these groups and actually attending some of their meetings.
I think communication is something where Police Scotland maybe lets itself down. We got bad for doing things and not telling anyone. I say that making sure that we keep everyone up to date when they've reported a crime and make sure they know what's happening, because a lot of the time I think perception is that nothing's happening, whereby you can do 10 things and to get to tell somebody you've done it, they're not going to know you've done the 10 things. So it's a lot about communication and keeping people in the loop of what's going on.
I think the main takeaway was that there's so many cultural differences that I was completely ignorant to, or that I knew about on a surface level but I didn't fully understand. And I think that having more one-to-one interaction with members of these seldom heard communities made me a lot more understanding of it, and it made me realise that even if I am ignorant to it, that's okay, because I can learn, no matter what it is, I can learn about it and I can find out the issues that are going to help us to communicate better.
Very often, because they have some bad memories connected with police from their own countries, they are hesitant to make any contact with the police. So having like a really informal setting and just a nice atmosphere and friendly person to talk to and get all that information, that was very, it's for me even, it was really nice experience. And I could see that for them it was like eye-opening how police can be really helpful and friendly.
And that police can be really friendly and handy, and you don't have to be afraid to actually ask and call in any sort of situation. Even if you lost a dog, if you have some sort of trouble, go and call the police. I was really surprised by this fact, because for some reason, in my opinion, I thought you need to call just in emergency situations, only when your life is in danger, you have to run, there's someone's coming for you or something like that. So I was surprised by this fact.
The police in the community, they should know the Police of Scotland can help them a lot and provide many information and a lot of stuff. They are always friendly and trying to help the people and the community. I think the police in Scotland, they know we are new in Scotland. We need an interpreter when we speak English, so we don't speak English fluently. So we need them to know that we are not a native speaker. Sometimes we don't understand them.
As for the first barrier will arise is the language, because no one can speak fluently English, and speaking by the phone can put in more stress. So I think it's really important to just, even if you're coming for someone at the house and you see that they're foreign, like they're speakers of other languages, it's really important to make them aware that they can be entitled for interpreter, or speak slower, don't rush things, it does really make a difference when you feel you're actually in good hands.
I think we just should be aware of how vulnerable refugees and asylum seekers are. So, especially that a lot of them come from a totally different background where police are always feared, and then people don't like to approach them, or even when they hear the word police, they just maybe feel, scared.
Police is need to be expose themselves in a community. Like, we are here to protect you, and we are doing this, we are doing that. So there must be, lack of information between policies and the community, especially the BME community members are not fully understand why the policies are there, what they are doing.
The major issue with the Police Scotland is communication. You can see from the conversation that we have today that we don't have enough information about police in general. Even us as professionals, we don't know what type of, as Hanan said, what power, for example, they have, what they can do or they can't do.
I think it may be some advertisements on Facebook, some Instagrams, any social media basically, because everyone's involved with social media. Less with the TV, less with my opinion, less with TV, less with the magazine, more social medias.
So I went to a call shortly after doing the training, and there was an Asian male reporting a fraud, and rather than what we normally do, if I went to a call and turned down a cup of tea, I accepted the cup of tea, and because culturally it's much more the done thing to build that rapport first, and then the call went a lot more smoothly. There was a lot more back and forth. It was a lot more conversational rather than an interrogation. It felt a lot easier to get the information from the person who was reporting the crime than it would possibly have without having bridged that at the beginning.
These barriers are an issue, and I think that we need to understand it's not going to be a simple fix, it's not going to be something that's done quick. I think speaking to everyone in the group, having someone within the control centre or the service centre that can speak, having some sort of programme that can translate when someone phones in would be a good starting point. The fact that you should never assume where someone's from, and how that can fend someone off straight away, and that can be a bad starting point. How they perceive police to be, that back from potentially Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Russia, police are perceived differently here, so they may see us as there to cause issues or there to arrest them or to issue a fine, and that in itself can be an issue, but it's just be open and honest with them, to speak to them, and that'll make a massive difference.
I think we should always remember that we don't know the journey people went through, and especially when I was working with asylum seekers, speaking to them, asking them what experience they had of police in different countries and their home country, we really need to take them individually because we don't know the traumas and we don't know what happened to them in the past. So we cannot just expect that they'll be all trusting us and they'll be all coming forward and reporting things to us because they might have a massive fear of the police.
I think one of the ideas as well, Karen, at Govan, was they were talking about doing a mobile kind of group session, and it would be like a mobile focus group attends different communities across Scotland, and they deliver an input on what the police do, how you can report things.
Yes, I definitely agree that the face-to-face meetings, as Mark said, would be the most beneficial, and agree with him that there should be some, I don't know, either national team or local teams in the divisions who would have a every week or every month meeting with the different communities throughout their divisions or area, and pass the information about the police to the community groups, minority community groups. And meantime, as we used to have it in the Grampian as well, the leaflet should be widely available in a doctor surgeries, in the schools, where the families and parents can pick them up in their own language and learn about the police and their role in a community.
I've now got officers that are kind of got greater experience, more training in how to engage with seldom heard communities, and locally, even now I'll be pushing to make sure that they use that skills and do something about it.
I think we do more than just crime. We do a bit of everything. We wear a lot of different hats. Sometimes you spend the day being a social worker. Sometimes you're a mental health officer. Sometimes you are arresting criminals. There's a lot of things we do, and a lot of it is signposting. So people, I think, are sometimes a little bit hesitant to report something to police because they maybe don't feel that it's important enough, or it doesn't feel like it's a crime, something like that. But I think people need to know that we do more than just that, and even if it's something we don't immediately have to answer for, that doesn't mean that we can't help. So we need to manage expectations in that it's not going to be an instant result, but we also need to communicate that we do more than just crime.
So it's to get that kind of reassurance message that if you're a victim of these crimes, report it to the police. We'll take it really seriously, we'll deal with it effectively, and we will do everything we can to keep you safe.
The main findings from this project were: police in Scotland are generally regarded highly by minority ethnic communities, and there is trust in local policing. Many ethnic minorities, including those who have been in the UK for a long time, have significant gaps in their knowledge about the police, including how to contact them in an emergency, police powers, and the range of tasks which police carry out to support community safety. Most of the people we spoke to were unaware that the police in Scotland did not usually carry guns. Receiving this information immediately changed perceptions, improved communication, and allowed relationships to develop. Many were unaware of the ways to contact the police, including the emergency number. Minority ethnic communities do not understand Police Scotland's role and relationship to other organisations such as the courts, the Home Office, and Scottish and UK governments. Minority ethnic communities felt that when they have had dealings with the police, communication has been poor. After meeting these groups, the police officers involved in our project understood why this was felt and identified ways to improve. Community engagement is valued by both communities and police officers and is felt to be an important tool in promoting community safety. The recommendations of this project are that Police Scotland create accessible information in multiple languages and media providing basic information about Police Scotland to its communities. Key messages to be communicated by Police Scotland for BAME communities are: police do not usually carry guns, can be identified by a badge number, it's okay to dial 999, police do not determine guilt, immigration status is not affected by reporting a crime. These messages were identified by community members and were consistent across the communities represented in the research. Police Scotland should look at how local officers can be involved in community engagement activity with local communities, using the model developed through this project. Interviewing should use a trauma-informed approach for victims, as it was reported that some BAME people felt, as victims, that they had committed a crime when being interviewed. Police Scotland should find a means of making an interpreter service more accessible by phone. Existing phone systems were not considered to be accessible, as the numbers are not necessarily known, and language in English is required to get past the first stage of the phone call. Training on cultural awareness and working with non-native speakers of English and people with literacy issues needs to be a regular part of police CPD. This is not necessarily the same as equality and diversity training, but should focus on breaking down barriers and promoting good communication. Such information may run through existing briefings and trainings, but must be made explicit. This research was carried out by Kirsty Forrester, Dundee City Council; Dr. Jonathan Mundell, the University of Dundee; Professor Karen McArdle, Emerita, the University of Aberdeen, in partnership with Police Scotland, Dundee City Council, Aberdeenshire Council, Govan Community Project and the Scottish Refugee Council. This film was made by Dundee City Council. Thank you to Neil Reid, Christopher Kirkwood and Amy Emmett from Dundee City Council's Learning and Organisational Development.